This is an old saying that the silent one always wins. So what does this exactly mean? Like literally, if someone stays silent, will they always win? Many times we may assume that the person who speaks the loudest or the most has the upper hand or is the strongest in the group. The person who speaks the least in a group is often perceived as someone who is calm, cool, and confident. You can't expect everyone to be loud and obnoxious all the time. Some people just prefer to stay quiet and observe things before they speak. They say so much in a short amount of time that it's difficult to keep up with them. At first, it may seem like they have everything under control. But if you pay close attention, you'll notice that they tend to ramble and go off on tangents. They jump from one topic to another without finishing their thoughts, and it can be hard to follow their train of reasoning. But when it comes time for them to listen, they tend to zone out and become unresponsive. They may pretend to be listening, but their minds are elsewhere. And this makes it difficult for them to understand and process what's being said to them. Sometimes people who appear to be the strongest are the ones who end up losing because they use up all their energy trying to convince everyone else to see things their way. They're able to turn their attention away from themselves and towards others. If you want to be the silent one who wins, then you need to learn how to be a good listener. Pay attention to what the other person is saying and try to see things from their perspective. This doesn't mean that you have to agree with them, but it does mean that you should try to understand where they're coming from. Once you've done that, you'll be in a much better position to persuade them to see your way of thinking. They're more present and engaged in the conversation, which allows them to fully listen and absorb what's being said. Because of this, the silent ones are often viewed as being more calm and level-headed. They're able to remain composed and rational even in difficult situations, which can be appealing to others. In contrast, those who talk too much are often seen as being disorganized and lacking. They may come across as being needy or insecure, which can be off-putting to others. They get so caught up in trying to prove themselves that they forget to listen to others and consider alternative viewpoints. The silent ones, on the other hand, are more likely to take the time to listen to others and consider different perspectives before speaking. They may not always win in the end, but at least they get to have their voices heard, which is half the battle. They don't feel the need to brag or show off or prove themselves through words. They don't complain or make excuses. This type of person is able to listen more and pay attention to the details, while others are distracted by their own arguments and justifications. So, when a situation requires careful thought and consideration, these are the types of people who are more likely to come up with the best solutions. Have you ever been in a situation where someone was trying to convince you to agree with them or do things their way? And the more you tried to explain your side of things, the more they kept interrupting you and telling you why you were wrong. Eventually, you gave up because it seemed pointless to continue arguing with them. Now, even though you felt like you had the right to speak up and be heard, you remained silent. In doing so, you allowed the other person to control the narrative and win the argument. This is how sometimes remaining silent can cause you to lose. No, there are many situations in life where speaking up or being vocal is necessary to stand a chance of winning. But this saying means something a bit deeper than just literally staying silent. Now, when someone remains silent, people think that they have nothing to say, that they're weak, or perhaps they lack confidence. But there are also scenarios where the opposite happens and the silent person actually ends up winning. Being quiet or introverted isn't always a bad thing. It's just different. Have you ever noticed how some people talk really fast? On the other hand, the silent ones are better listeners because they're less. So next time you re-faced with a situation where someone is trying to convince you to see things their way, remember that the silent one always wins.